Hi guys, this is Debbie with Debbie J's Crafting Corner. Today I am doing another design team project for Not Too Shabby, and I'm using the Be Salty stamp set. Now this is a really cute stamp set with this nice beachy scene, which I love mostly because, you know what, I live in Florida. I keep changing my mind about which way I want these to go. What I'm going to do is I'm using one of the backgrounds that I made in a Crafty Live session about like 2, 3, 4 months ago. I'm using some stamping foam, and I'm going to basically stamp out my image on top of that. I think that will work. I'd actually done one a little bit ago previously, and I forgot to turn on the camera, so you didn't get to see what I was doing, and I pretty much finished up. This is a really quick and easy card too, and this... Okay, I need to move my stamp. So I just put the acetate over the top where I want this to be positioned. And just leave that on top, and then I'll pick it up with the top of my Misty, and we should be good to go. Go ahead and put some more VersaFine Onyx Black ink down, and straighten my card. Yeah, I think I like that. I'm gonna go ahead and put another coat. And then I'm going to cover that in some clear embossing powder from Wow. Because it is mostly anti-static, it shouldn't have any problem on my card. Let's go ahead and heat that up. Okay, so now I have these 3 panels, and I think that they all look pretty cute, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of color, not a lot, but just a little bit to some of the different areas. I don't want to take away from that like black on color look. I don't even know what to call it, but I do like it, but I do want to add a little bit to these different areas. I'm going to start off with some green. This is the AG1, which is one of my lightest, and just add that, just a little bit of quick coloring over the fronds of my palm tree. And do the same thing on the other cards. I think I like the look that this is giving. The colors are a little bit variegated because of that color in the background. So I don't know that I actually need to add any additional colors because you're not really going to be seeing the shading. For instance, this one has got the pink behind the green, so it turns the leaves a little bit brownish. And this one, because it has so much of that dark blue behind, it kind of looks like the dark blue is a shadow on top of my leaves. I think these are going to look kind of cool. Okay, so let me grab a lightish brown. Kind of medium, but I think that'll still work. I'm going to just come down and give a little bit of shadow on these. I'm not even going to bother with coloring in the rest of it. It'll be kind of like some odd highlights. This is kind of an artsy look. I don't really do that a whole lot, but I am liking it. Okay, I do need a little bit of grass on each of these down here at the bottom. So let me do a little bit of flicking of that. And then for, let's see, I've got the beach and then I've got the surfboard. So what do I want to do with those? I think for the beach I'm going to use a golden brown. And this is like the lightest of those. That looks kind of interesting. What's really neat is you don't know what they're going to look like with the different colors behind them. And each one has a little bit of a different look. That is kind of cool. I am going to bring in a little bit of a darker of the yellow just to give a little bit of accent. A little shade underneath each of my surfboards. Okay, and then what do we want to do with the surfboard? I'm thinking I'm going to just go in with a little bit of gray for some shadow. So next I'm going to trim down the edges here, and I am giving it about a 1/4 inch from the edge of where my stamping foam was, and that also is leaving me a little bit of space for where my trees kind of went beyond the edge. I think that's going to look kind of good. So let me go ahead and trim down all 3 of these. Okay, next I need to add a sentiment. So I decided I'm going to use the Sending Sunshine, but I think instead of using black embossing for this one, I'm going to emboss it in a little bit of gold, and want to make sure it doesn't stick after all of that. I don't want it to stick in the wrong spots, although, you know, gold scattered probably wouldn't look too bad. And I think what I'm going to use is this Old Recollections. I am starting to wear it down a little bit, which is good. And I'm using my Wow Clear Embossing ink. I can see some on there where the stamping has done well. Okay, for a minute there I thought I had the stamp upside down. That would kind of suck. So let's take a look, see how this one does. And it would do better if this was actually fine embossing powder, and it may have been fine embossing powder when I got it. It's supposed to be, but it's been about 4 years. And there's no telling how much other stuff has kind of gotten stuck in it. And I'm heating it from behind because I don't really want any of it to blow off, which has happened before. Okay, so now we've got that shiny sentiment. Now you do have to tilt it in the light a little bit to see it, just because that's kind of what gold does, but I think that's going to look pretty good. Let me go ahead and get the other 2 cards done. Okay, now I am going to mat these guys down on some black cardstock, and I think I want to add a little bit extra. I'm going to try it anyway. So there is a ridge on my paper trimmer's thumb guard, and I'm going to line up the edge of the white with that part so that it adds just a little bit more of a black border around, or at least that's what I'm going to attempt to do, and see how that one looks. I may decide that that is still too much of a border and go ahead and trim it down some more. Okay. So this one I'm going to put on a yellow card base, and that is actually still too big. So let's go ahead and trim it down to that little 16th that I usually go with. So it's got that little pop of black. But it doesn't have too much, doesn't have too little. I figured that would probably look pretty good surrounding that image. I do think that that black helps it pop a little bit. And with the whole tropical vibe, the fact that this paper is a little warped, that is perfectly fine. I did try flattening it out a little bit, but I think this is going to work just fine anyway. Let me go ahead and trim these other 2 down. So next I'm going to add some foam to the back. Now this is just some scraps that I have of some old fun foam that I'm trying to use up the last of, and it is disappearing pretty quick, which is good. Because I figure that is some space that I've had in my storage, in my crafty storage, that I could use for something else instead of for scraps of foam that I was not ever going to be using. Just adding a little bit of liquid glue to the back of those. And what's funny is it's only taken me about, I'd say probably about a week to go through all of this. To go through all of the scraps that I had. Basically just pieces and parts of different ones. Okay, so while that is getting good and set, let me go ahead and add this. So some of my foam has adhesive on the back and some of it doesn't. So since this one has the adhesive, I'll go ahead and add that to the back of my card front. Okay, and then I'll just add some more liquid glue to the back on top of those foam strips, and that way I can just center it right in the middle of my card, and making sure that it opens the direction that I'm expecting it to. Kind of sucks to get everything done and then it turns out that your card is actually upside down and crooked. But since it's liquid glue, I can shift it around a little bit when I mess up. And because I just love my little bit of bling, I'm going to go ahead and add a few little crystal gems to each of these cards. And I think that these guys turned out pretty cute, even though I used them in a different kind of way, something I wouldn't have thought of doing before. And I hope that this inspires you to get out some of those background panels that you have had sitting in your stash for months, if not years, and just give a little bit of extra new life to them by adding a stamp of some sort on there. You guys can do this. I mean, if I can do it, you can too. So be sure to check out this video over here where I'm using some other products from Not Too Shabby. And you guys have a wonderful day. And again, remember, if I can make it, you can too. Have a great day.